Hey guys, it's me and just back for part 3 of Faith's story. And sorry again, left you on a little bit of a cliffhanger last week. So this week I'm just going to pick up where I left off and cover what we decided going forward, and just answer a couple of the questions I received, as well as just kind of what happened from making that decision after that doctor's office to giving birth. So basically that in between stage of being at 23 weeks and carrying the pregnancy on to 36 weeks. So just to kind of sum up what I ended last part 2's video on was we were in the specialist's office doctor's office in LA, and he's like what I said in part 2 is basically he's a specialist who deals with twins transfusions and very, very specialized cases of very 0.00001% things that happen in different pregnancies, especially with pregnancies of multiples. And so we were just to give you kind of an idea of the gravity of how much stuff was wrong with our daughter Faith. And so, like I said, we received the devastating news, and he basically said after we saw that ultrasound that there's so many things going wrong. There's a laundry list of things that are wrong, that the 3 options where you can continue with the shunt procedure, and if you don't know what that is, go back to part 2, and then I'll go into detail about what that is, where there's no guarantee that's going to work, and you might have to keep coming back and back and back, basically continue flying out to LA to go do that procedure. 2 is you could let nature take its course, which basically just don't do anything and see what happens. And then the 3rd option is to terminate the pregnancy. We were considered still viable to terminate because we were only 23 weeks along, and 24 weeks was your cutoff for viability according to the Western medicine standpoint and laws of the state. So one of the questions I actually received was, did you feel pressure to terminate? And my answer is no. We had actually been informed by both our high-risk doctor and our specialist doctor about the options that other people had chosen about termination, but we never felt a pressure to terminate. And then for me, basically, when I was given those options, it just was one of those feelings where you have such that deep, deep sobbing, where it's literally your heart leaves your chest and it goes in your toes, and all the blood just drains out of you. And then another question that kind of piggybacks off that was, what was your emotion after receiving that news? And I kind of hit this a little bit in the last video, but it was just complete, utter devastation. There was just kind of a lot of denial, this is not happening, this is not okay, this is our baby girl, she's gonna be fine. But then just really trying to stick with reality, and just realize no, this is what's going on, this is a condition. And me as a mom, I desperately was we got to do the shunt procedure. We have to make this work. And Cody was my voice of reason. He's babe, there's nothing we can do. We've exhausted all of our options here. And that was really hard as a mom. And obviously hard for a dad too, but I can only speak obviously from my mom's perspective. And so we asked for time to go think on the decision. And it was just I was so numb. I walked out of that office just so numb, so devastated, so just feeling so defeated, just huh? What? We've done everything we can, and we have a belief obviously in a God. And so in my faith, and I was just there's no way this is happening. I remember just being in the back of the car, and we were with our moms as we were stuck in LA traffic trying to get back to our hotel room. And I just laid my head back, and I was just the tears were just falling. And I remember it was just I closed my eyes, and I remember God. I just felt God's presence in that moment, and I don't really know how to explain it. Sorry, I tried to keep that. It was just we were kind of I felt I was stuck between, I either had to do the shunt procedure out of desperation, or 2, I had to terminate the pregnancy. Like, I just kind of forgot there was this third option about like letting nature take its course, as the doctor said. And it just was like, I laid my head back, my tears are falling, and I'm like, God, I just felt like God whispered. He was just like, I've got you. It's okay. Like, you're gonna be okay. Like, and so it just gives me chills now thinking about it. Like, it just was like, we couldn't do the shunt procedure because it was like realistic, not going to work. But termination, I just couldn't. That was not a decision I could make. And so, like I said, I just felt like I had this clarity moment in the car where it was just like, Becca, it's okay. I've got you. And so we went back to the hotel, and I had to go for a walk. And I called my best friend, and I just was like, there's nothing we can do. And her and I are just like sobbing on the phone, and she finally was like, Becca, you got to breathe, because I couldn't breathe. I was sobbing so hard. And then it was, and Cody had gone on a walk too, because we were both just like so emotionally charged. We didn't want to make a decision, obviously, so quickly. And so, and so then when we went out to dinner that night, and then we went, and then like the next morning, I didn't sleep like at all. And then the next morning, him and I went for a walk, and we were just like, what was so beautiful in that moment is because I think we were just so, like I said, so emotionally charged, and so just trying to like panicking. Like, we felt like we had to make a decision right there. Like, we didn't. We weren't pressured to at all, but it just was like your mind, like, you're just, like, this trauma, just like, it's like the shock of the trauma of like accepting that information was very hard. So we went on our walk the next morning, right before we had to go back to the doctor's office, basically to tell him what we decided. What was really beautiful in that moment was him and I had both thought about what we wanted to do, and then we had come to the same conclusion. And it was like, we both were just like, we have to let God put this in God's hands. Like, both of us felt very strongly about that. And so we're like, okay, like, we can't obviously go forward with the shunt procedure. We're not going to terminate. We're going to let God just lead us through this journey. And so that was when we named her. We had a bunch of names that we had picked out, I think like most parents, but none of them really fit. And so I looked at Cody, I was like, I want to name her like Hope or Grace. And he looked at me and he was like, I want to name her Faith. And it was like perfect. It was so perfect. And so that's when we chose her name, Faith. So went back to the doctor's office, and they were super, super kind and supportive, and we told them what our decision was, and they gave us hugs, and I don't remember her name, but she just hugged me so tight, and she was like, let your faith and your daughter Faith guide you. You guys are a very strong couple. So returning home, after that procedure it was like very, it was just like, it was like we kind of had to like return back to life as normal, but it like wasn't normal. We were carrying like this huge, huge weight on our shoulders. And I remember just feeling hopeless. I came home and I sat on this chair, and my dogs just like surrounded me and were like coming up to me, and I just like sat there and cried in my living room. And like I said, try to resume life as normal. Like, I went back to work the next day. Like, I didn't know what else to do. I was like, what am I going to do? Sit around and cry by myself when Cody felt like he had to go back to work. So I went back to work, and my coworkers were like, they knew what was going on. And they're like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm kind of just numb. And so kind of just to wrap this up, because it's getting already really long. Sorry, guys. Is just like the beautiful thing of this is like, because we chose to carry on the pregnancy, it's just like the more that we began, or that we shared like our story and Faith's story with more people, the bigger it became. And like the more we realized like this was so much bigger than just us. There was so much bigger than us going through this very, very difficult thing. And just like to see how like it impacted like people, just letting them know what we decided and how we wanted to like we just told people we want to love her as long as we have her, and just know that she's loved and we cherish her. And like, and just like the way that people showed up, like going back to like when God was like, Becca, I've got you through this. It was like he showed up, and like through all these people, just random people, like friends, family. Like we went and we were prayed over at our church, from our elders, and they just like surrounded us, and like grown men in this prayer circle were bawling, like crying as we're like sharing our story, and they're praying over us, and just like it was just like this weight was lifted, and like all these other people were just like carrying this like burden and this pain with us. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like God was just with us. And like we had a friend, just for another idea, or for another example, like one of our good friends, she offered to give us a baby shoot, or I'm sorry, a pregnancy shoot, a maternity shoot. What is it called? And she was like, it's complimentary. I wanted to be able to gift this to you guys. And so we have like pictures of like, because we'd obviously wanted maternity pictures before. And she was like, I want to gift this to you guys because like, this is something I would really love for you to have and for you to cherish these memories. And then like we had friends like throw us not baby showers, but just like celebration of life showers. And just like we had one friend set up a GoFundMe for us, and she was just sharing our story, and like she would share a story like on an airplane, and like a friend and like some random stranger was like gave her $100 bill and was like, put this towards your friends and whatever they need it for, funeral services, cremation services, whatever that is, just please just help. I hope this blesses your friend. So it was just so beautiful how like people showed up, and just how God was just like so present. And like I said, it was just like the story became so much bigger than like Cody and me. It was just like beautiful. And kind of going forward, like we didn't know a lot. Like we didn't know how long we were going to carry her. We didn't know if we were going to ever bring her home. We didn't know if we were ever going to have to go to the NICU. Like we didn't know if God would work a miracle. Like there was just like, we honestly just took each day, like we took one day at a time. I started journaling. This is what I started journaling. I wonder if I have that. Somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but I kept a journal, and just like basically I wrote something positive in my journal every day. So on the really, really, really hard days, I could go back and be like, okay, like God's got me. We got this. Like, and like I said, people just showed up randomly. It was like breathtaking. And so, trying to think what else to fit in here, and it's already getting long again. So sorry, guys. So I think I'm going to stop there, and then, what I'm going to come back to in part, I end up doing a part 4, because, I want to talk about in the next part is like the continuation of how people just showed up, and how much her story, impacted other people, and kind of what that looked like from like a practical standpoint, not just like resonating in people's heart, but like the way that people like came together and it created this beautiful, beautiful community. And I'll also talk about in part 4, kind of like the what ifs, like, what if we had terminated, and, like living with those decisions and everything like that. So, thanks, guys, for sticking around for another 14 minutes. We're already here. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Please like, comment, feedback. Feedback is huge. And also share. Just share this on your stories. Make sure to tag me so that I can know who to thank. But sharing is huge, because without y'all, I can't get this to the people who need to hear it. And like I said, if you resonate with this, drop a heart or a comment in the comments below. Share it. DM me if you want to talk further in private. Would definitely love. Hopefully this would start creating like a conversation piece. So, bye, guys.